So today we're going to get started with our next unit on consumer math, and it kind of goes along with our proportions unit that we just finished up. To begin, we're going to look at why is math important when you're shopping. Well, there's a lot of reasons that we can use math. So some of them include calculating the total of your bill, maybe at the grocery store, maybe figuring out what the sale price of something would be, figuring out how much money you're going to be paying for an item with the sales tax on it, and then how much your dinner or something might be if you are trying to tip someone after you've been served. So those are all just some general ways that we use math as a consumer. And then there's some certain instances when you may just want to be tipping someone, and those include either when you're being served at a restaurant, so you tip your waiter typically anywhere from 15 to 20%, depending on how you felt the service was. And then other places you might tip someone would be at the salon, or maybe your cab driver, or even like a valet at a fancy restaurant might be a tipped item too. Otherwise, when we are talking about discounts, it says, how do discounts affect the price of items you buy? Well, discounts can be anything from just a sale, maybe at Giant, where they're saying you can get 2 boxes of Cheez-Its for $5, when normally maybe they're $3 a piece. So that would be a discount, so that's a lower price. So that's decreasing the total. And the other times you could have a discount would maybe be if you had a coupon for a certain item, or even if there was like a special, like buy one, get one free. And then we have sales tax. So how does sales tax affect the price of the items you buy? Well, that's going to increase the total of whatever you're buying. So say you want to buy the new iPhone 10 and it starts at $1,000. Well, you're going to pay a little bit more than the $1,000 because of the 6% sales tax that we have in Virginia. You'd be actually paying $1,000 and $1,060. I cannot say that. So you would be paying a little bit more than what you see because of sales tax. So looking at the next set of directions, it says, read the situations below to identify the type of consumer math that we're dealing with, either tax, tip, or discount. And then you need to tell whether the price would be increasing, where you would need to add, or the price would decrease, which is where you would subtract. So that's something to keep in mind here. So the first one says, Lee just got her hair cut and styled. She paid the price and then paid her stylist an additional 20%. So we're adding 20% there. If she's giving that stylist 20% more, that is going to be giving that stylist a tip. So typically when you get your hair cut, you would be tipping someone for doing a good job, and that's definitely going to increase the price of your haircut. So if your haircut costs $10 and you want to tip 20%, you'd be adding $2 more to that total price that you're paying. In our next one, we have Marcus surprised his mom on her birthday with a special dinner. When he looked at the bill, there was an additional 6% charge listed after the price. So as soon as they list the price on a receipt, you're going to see right below it tax. And in Virginia, our sales tax is 6%. So if your dinner was $100, then you would have a $6 charge for tax. So this is a tax problem. And that is also going to increase the amount of what you're paying. So like we talked about with the iPhone, you're not just paying what you see the price is, but you're paying that little bit more just to cover the sales tax. And then finally, this last example says, on Black Friday, Best Buy offered a brand new laptop computer for $350. This is $200 off of the original price. So they're taking $200 less than what it normally is. So this is a discount problem where the store is offering a sale, and that means that you're going to be decreasing the total of what it once was. So I guess it started at $550 if we're getting $200 off and only paying $350. All right, so moving on to the next page, we have when do we use consumer math? So we kind of already mentioned this, but in shopping, we're going to use tax, because you're going to have that sales tax. That's going to be adding to your total. And then we also have discounts, so something with coupons or just sales. And remember, we talked about that subtracts from your total. At a restaurant, we tip our server, and that's going to add money to what we're paying. And that's just to tell them thank you for doing a good job. Then we have hair or nail salon. We talked about we're going to tip them too, so that's also adding. And if it helps you to remember, this tax and tip kind of looks like a plus sign with the T, so you can remember that that's when we're going to add. And discounts are decreasing our total, so that's kind of a nice way of remembering that. Finally, our last example here says banks, and banks are going to use it to calculate interest. So So interest is something that either you have to pay the bank if you take out a loan, or when you have a savings or checking account, the bank will typically pay you a low amount of interest if you keep your money in there for a longer period of time. If you have any other ideas of when you may use math as a consumer, feel free to jot them down here and we can talk about them as a class later. Okay, so to fill in our percent proportion, this is how we're going to be solving a lot of our problems. They're going to ask you something like, what is 6% of $20? So your what is, when you don't know that, that's going to be your x. Of is of $20. We're trying to figure out what is 6% of $20. So our whole number would go on the bottom, and then we have the percent. We're talking about 6%, and that's 6 out of 100, because a whole percentage is out of 100, so 6 over 100. This number down here is always going to be 100. So in order to solve one of these, you first need to set up the proportion like we just talked about, and we're going to practice with that. And then we're going to cross multiply. We're really familiar with that. And when we cross multiply, remember we always come up with some sort of equation, maybe like 2x equals 10. And then you need to solve for your missing value, solve for your variable, and that's either going to be your tax, your tip, or your discount. But once you figure that out, you're not quite done. There's one more step when we're dealing with consumer math. You either need to find the sale price, so how much you're actually paying, because right now you're just calculating the discount, or you need to find the total price, so how much you're paying in all once you add that sales tax or tip. So if you're trying to find what the sale price of an item would be, you're going to take the original price, and like we said, we're going to decrease or subtract whatever that discount was. So remember that D sound for discount we can use for D, decrease or subtraction. Whereas we talked about tax and tip kind of look like that plus sign. So when you have tax or tip, you're going to take your original price and then you're going to add your tax or tip there. So just think about those nice little tricks to help you remember what you need to do in order to finish each of these problems. Okay, so here's just another way of rewriting that is over of, like we filled in earlier. So that's like saying the part and the whole. So what is 6% of 20? Again, if we wanted to go with that example, you're saying what is, so that's our x, and our whole would have been 20, and we were looking for 6% out of 100. So we would have x over 20 equals 6 over 100. So what is the tax or tip? That's typically your x there. And then it's out of what was the original price, equals your percent out of 100. So these are just a few different ways of looking at that general percent proportion, but that's what you're going to start with every single time you solve one of these problems. So here's an example for calculating tax, and remember we said the tax looks like a T or a plus sign, so that means we're going to add to our original price. So it says there's a $120 pair of UGG boots with a 6% sales tax. What is the amount of tax, and then what is the total price paid? So we need to find two different numbers here. So starting with our percent proportion, remember we do is over of equals your percent out of 100. So what is 6% of 120? So what is our x. We're looking for the amount of tax, and our original price was out of $120. And then that equals, we're looking for 6%, so 6 over that bottom number is always 100 there. So then we just have to cross multiply. So x times 100 is 100x, and 120 times 6 is 720. We divide both sides by 100, and that gets us x equals 7.20, which is $7.20. And a quick little trick there is all you have to do is just take your decimal point and move it 2 places to the left rather than typing in divided by 100 every single time you do one of these problems. Just move that decimal 2 places to the left there. So that means that our x, that's our amount of tax, is $7.20. That's how much extra money you're going to pay on these boots just to cover the sales tax. And then what is the total price paid? So you need to take our original price, which was $120, and we're going to add the sales tax to it. When you do that, you get a total price of $127.20. Don't forget to put your label on your final answer. In our next example, it says discount means, and we're going to fill in subtract from original. Remember, discount sounds like the D for decrease, so we're decreasing that original value. So we're going to subtract whatever that discount is. So it says the headphones are $55 and we're getting a discount of 15% off. So we're asked to find what is the amount of the discount and what is the total amount that you pay. So we're going to set up our percent proportion. So we are looking for the discount out of $55, and it's going to be a 15% discount. So we put 15 over 100. Now we have x times 100 to cross multiply. We get 100x equals 55 times 15, and that gets us 825. We always divide by whatever number's in front of x, so in this case 100. And remember that trick I told you to use? Just take your decimal point and move it 2 spaces to the left, so we end up with 8.25 when we divide that by 100. That means the amount of our discount is $8.25. That's how much money we're saving. But what is the total amount you pay? Take your original price, $55, subtract your discount from it, and when you do that, you get $46.75. Don't forget your label. So in our last example, we have tip means add to original price. You need to write that in there, and remember that the T in tip looks like an addition sign, so we're going to be adding to whatever that cost was. So it says dinner at Red Lobster was $65.13, and you will leave a 22% tip. How much is the tip, and what is the total you paid with tip? So we need to set up our percent proportion. So what is the tip, that's our x, out of that original price, $65.13? That's going to equal, we're deciding that we're leaving a 22% tip. We must have had really good service. And we're going to put that over 100. So we cross multiply and get 100x, just as we did in the first two. And then we take 65.13 times 22. That gets us 1,432.86. Now we need to divide by 100 on both sides. And again, use the trick, go 2 spaces to the left to move your decimal. So we get x equals 14.3286. Now if we're dealing with money and we want to say how much is the tip, we need to put $14.30 something cents. So we need to round this up right to that second spot. Since the number right after the 2 is an 8, it's 5 and above, so we're going to give that 2 a shove. That's going to become 14.33 for our tip. Make sure you're rounding correctly there. So there's our tip, and then it says what is your total that you paid with tip. So we need to add our tip to our original price. So we started with $65.13, and we are going to add $14.33 to that. That is going to get us $79.46, and that's dollars. There's our final answer. That's all I have for you today, but just as a quick recap, don't forget that our tax starts with T, so that looks like a plus sign, so we add that. Our tip starts with T as well, also looks like a plus sign, so we're adding that. And our discount starts with D, so does decrease, so we will be subtracting to find our total price there. So go ahead and follow your directions on Google Classroom for the rest of class today. Thanks for watching.